Hello and welcome to Scotty Kilmer Live Car Talk, where I answer all your car questions live using my 51 years experience, telling you the truth about cars. Remember, during the show worldwide, just type your questions in on the live chat and I'll answer them here on YouTube Live. Okay, first question is Cooper Wilkinson says, I got shaking problem with my '02 Ford Explorer SRT two-door. When I achieve roadway speeds, it'll shake and the car travels a bit to the side. This happened right after I got a tire. Okay. Depends what kind of tires did you get. Did you get just one tire? If you got one tire, the tire is going to match all the other tires, and that often will create a problem. Now, let's say you got a pair of tires. If you buy tires, since it's just a two-door, plain old rear-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive, you only can buy pairs at a time. You can buy the front pair or the rear pair. If you bought a pair of tires and it does that, they either sold you crappy tires, they didn't balance right, or they didn't put them on right. You have to realize when you buy tires, you want them to match in each axle, the two front ones and the two rear ones. And if they don't balance them right, you're going to get a wobbly problem like that. I've had that happen myself. I went to one of these stupid discount chains to buy tires, right? And of course, they got a bunch of idiots that are working there. And I said, just put them on and balance them. And I said, put them on the front. So they put them on the back. I said, no, I want them on the front. And then I take it on highway and it's shaking. So I say, well, they're a bunch of idiots. So I take it to my front end alignment guy. There's nothing but front end alignments. He said, oh, they just didn't balance the tires correctly. It could be that simple. You want to get that checked because at these tire places, a lot of them are idiots. They have no idea what they're doing. Next question. Peanut24353 says, hey, Scotty, is a BMW E34 520 a reliable car? Yeah, it's reliable that you'll spend a lot of time with your mechanic spending money getting it fixed. Things are endless money pits as they age. BMWs has been that way for a long time. The last BMWs that weren't endless money pits, you got to go way back into the 80s. They went to computerized plastic everything and it cracks and breaks. They're not reliable cars anymore, especially with automatic transmissions. They're just nightmares as they age. You can see they're insanely low resale value. Back in the 80s, they actually had an ad that said we have the highest resale value, and they had one particular model that actually had a really high resale value, but it's been a long time since that occurred. Next question is Jim K. How much do we have to donate to charity to get you to wear Elton John glasses during these videos? I don't know. Maybe I'll just do it sometime if somebody wants me to wear it. If you'll send me the glasses, maybe I'll try them out. The problem is I'm blind as a bat. I can see this far. After that, it's blurry. These are heavy-duty prescription glasses I'm wearing now. They're trifocals. They got 3 levels. But I would put them on if somebody sends them just for a lark. So if anybody wants to send me them, feel free. I'm open-minded. Next question. Kenneth Keithan says, Scotty, what do you think of Ford's 7.3-liter Power Stroke diesel engines from the 2000s? They were good engines if you took care of them. As long as you change the oil and filter regularly and also change the fuel filters all the time, because you have to learn about diesels. Diesels run on diesel fuel. Diesel fuel actually can get a fungus that grows inside the fuel. Gasoline is too caustic. Nothing's growing in that. But they can actually get a fungus that grows. So you got to make sure you keep clean fuel and clean filters. I know that for a fact that it can grow because I've got friends that have diesel motors in their boats that they hardly ever use at sea. They keep them in the dock most of the time, and they will have a problem with fungus growing in the mold and messing up their whole system. They got to change their filters all the time. Next question. Cristiano Bertucci says, hey, Scotty, I drive a fast food delivery in Europe. I need a car. Requirements are cheap, small, reliable, zippy. Thanks. You're doing great work. Okay, well, basically go for any Toyota that they sell in your area, smaller one. They're well made. They can last a really long time. I don't know what country you're in. Now, some people, they will buy like those little bitty French cars, and they swear by them. Renault or Peugeot in Europe, people tend to be able to fix them, get parts for them. Guys know how to fix them. They don't in the United States, so you might look at that. But I mean, just as an overall bet, you can't beat either the Toyota Corolla or the Honda Civic. Those things can run forever. Next question. Zero says, Scotty, I received a 2017 V6 Camaro as the first car. How reliable can it be if I maintain and change the oil regularly? Okay, you said you received. If that means somebody gave it to you, great. You didn't pay anything for it. So you don't have anything invested in it. If that's true, just change the oil and filter on those every 5,000 miles. Use full synthetic oil. Don't overheat the engine. And then keep your fingers crossed and pray a lot. Because GM quality isn't what it used to be. We had an Impala in the 60s when I was a kid. It was bulletproof, V8 engine, ran forever. Kind of a gas hog, but back then gas was like $1.20 a gallon, so nobody really cared. But these days, I'm hopefully you got it for nothing. If you did, take care of it and drive it. Then if something big like a transmission starts going out, you can just get rid of the stupid thing. But you never know. Just take care of it and see what happens. Don't buy one, though. Next question is Vince Dunn. Hey, Scotty, what do you think of the military Deuce and a Half truck? Good, reliable truck? Well, they've been making that thing since, previous to World War II. If you take care of them, they are very reliable trucks. They come in gasoline, they come in diesel. Of course, they're tremendous gas hogs. Now, I got a friend that's got one because he's into military memorabilia, and he loves it. He takes it to military reenactments and stuff like that, and the parades, and he has fun with it. And yeah, they're pretty reliable vehicles. I mean, they're old as Hades, most of them. You're going to buy an old military one, but they're fun to play around with. It's not something you're going to be driving back and forth to work every day. Next question. Righteous Redneck says, is AmSoil just a bunch of marketing hype? Okay, AmSoil makes good oil. There's no arguing. I've used it. I've had customers that raced cars that used it. It's a good oil. Now, that said, it's a very expensive oil, and they do spend a lot of money in marketing. My philosophy when people are buying good synthetic oil is see what's out there and then go by price. Like the last oil change I did for a customer of mine, I went to AutoZone because they now have STP, full synthetic oil, and they're selling the stuff for less than $5 a quart if you buy it in a 5-gallon container. So what the heck? It works fine. I personally wouldn't go out and buy stuff that's $10, $15 a quart. Now, the racing guys do. I've got customers that race cars, and they swear by the Redline oil. That's kind of competitor to that. It's very expensive oil. It's a very good oil, but it's also super, super expensive. And you don't need that kind of protection in most cars. The race car guys, they look at the oil pressure, the oil temperature, and they swear that the Redline one, both of those work better. You get a higher pressure and you get a lower temperature. So they watch it. But in a normal driving car, any good oil is going to work. Next question. Joey B says, Scotty, can I be your apprentice? Well, I'm not Donald Trump, and I'm not looking for an apprentice. And my wife said, no one could work with you because you're insane. And you would expect so much. So I don't think anybody would last very long if I ever had one. Pardon me, I'm getting over a cold I got from Boston. Next question. Reductio 1000 says, hey, Scotty, here in Europe, we use a lot of BMWs and Mercedes. Pardon me, as taxis. Why do you have bad experience with these brands? Because those cars aren't sold in the United States. I went to London and I noticed, yeah, they had them as taxis. I saw a Mercedes-Benz ice cream truck. You see a lot of stuff there. I saw a BMW police station wagon. So, yeah, they're different brands than what are sold in the United States. Here, they sell the luxury ones. There they go. Now I'm back to normal. Okay. Dimitri says, hey, Scotty, is the geoprism the same as... is the geoprism the same as Toyota? Isn't the Geo a GM product? Excuse me. Yeah, it is. Sort of. The engine and transmission were the same as the Toyota Corolla. Now, some of the GM stuff had GM body panels and stuff, and the Toyota didn't. They're worthless, but they can be okay cars. Toyota had a deal going that they were selling the engines and transmissions and stuff, and it gave such a bad rep to Toyota with GM selling them that Toyota ended up pulling out of the deal, and that's why it doesn't exist anymore. And I don't blame Toyota. Why shouldn't they sell engines and transmissions, sell the whole car? Yeah, I got the sneezing going on today. Next question. Mr. Boom says, Scotty, what do you think of the new Jeep Gladiator? Another Jeep bust? Sure. As soon as Fiat bought Chrysler, their quality started going way down. Way down. And that's, you know what I mean, no different as far as I'm concerned. All that stuff is just marketing hype, like the Jeep Renegade. That's a Fiat 500X four-wheel drive. It has nothing to do with Jeep. It's just total marketing hype, all that stuff. Next question. Peter Christensen says, Scotty, should I get a 96 Saab 900 CS 2-liter low-pressure turbo automatic driven 104,000 miles for $2,400? The seller has oil change record since new. Thanks. Okay, if you live in the United States, it's insane to buy that car. I wouldn't give $500 for that car. Saab pulled out years and years and years ago because they break down all the time. The parts cost a fortune. Nobody knows how to fix them. If you're in Sweden or something, yeah, you know, guys... buy them, they have parts available, and the Swedes are nuts about them. But if you live in the United States, no, don't buy it. It's not worth it. It just isn't worth it because you can't get parts, and if you don't work on it yourself, nobody knows how to fix those things. That was one of the cars that helped knock them out, and they don't even make them anymore. Well, most of it's gone now. Okay, next question. Samuel Cruz says, what do I look for when I'm buying a truck? The frame rust is something I'm not sure about. Okay. Frames are the thickest steel of the car in a truck. Some have superficial rust. It means nothing. And some, they're starting to come apart. So when you're checking out a car, get a plain old hammer you got in your house. Bring it with you. When you crawl under there, if you hit it and it goes clang, clang, and you hear it, and it doesn't do anything, it's not anything but superficial rust. But if you hit it clang and it breaks in and pieces fall off, it's rotten and you don't buy it. It's very easy to check. And you go all over and see if the frame is rotten. And if it is, you don't buy it. And if it's superficial rust, you can always have it sanded down and recoated with undercoating if you want. But if it cracks and breaks in all over the place, don't buy it. That's very easy to check if the frame is rotten. Next question is Tony Wrigglesworth. What's your take on the Suzuki Jimny? Okay, Suzuki pulled out of the United States a long time ago. They made cute little runabout, fake little Jeepy things. And when I went to the Virgin Islands in the Caribbean, they're all over the place. I rented one. They're fun to drive around. That said, they're no long-distance vehicles. I had a customer who bought one of those years ago in Houston. He moved to Florida. And when he got there, he called me up and he said, man, I'm getting rid of this thing. I drove it from Houston to Florida, and Thing was like riding in a washing machine, bouncing around. It was horrible, and he got rid of the thing. If you want a cute little thing for bouncing around in, they can be fun. That said, in the United States, they pulled out so long ago, parts cost a lot of money. Hardly anybody knows how to fix them. And if they ever do have engine problems, you just junk the stupid things. They're little sewing machine engines, and when they finally wear out, they're not worth fixing. Next question is Ephraim Melendez. Scotty, what's your opinion on the Nissan Frontier 4-liter motor? Okay, they're decent motors. Nissan's always made decent motors. Well, after Renault took over, not like the Altimas, yeah, then they started blowing head gaskets, the little 4-cylinder ones. But they've always made really good V6 engines like that 4-liter one. They're pretty well-made engines. It's the rest of the vehicles, the electronics that have problems, air conditioners that have problems. But if you change their oil and filter on those 4-liter engines, they generally last quite some time and are pretty good vehicles. Next question is Frankie, and Frankie says, Dear Scotty, should I buy a 2017 Toyota 86 as a first car? Okay, realize that a Toyota 86 has nothing to do with Toyota. It's a Subaru. It's made in a Subaru factory. Toyota never really was a sports car company. The first one they ever made looked like a baby Corvette, and it had a Yamaha engine in it. I mean, they're not a sports car company. Just like the new Toyota, the sports one that they had for years, and they brought it back. And it's called the, God, I'm having a brain seizure now for being old. It's the sports Toyota, the Supra. It's a BMW. It's made by BMW, but they're selling it as a Toyota, which is total nonsense. And that's the same thing. If you don't mind a Subaru engine and a Subaru transmission, then basically the whole thing is a Subaru. You can go ahead and buy it, but it's not going to last like a regular Toyota because those boxer engines, they have a tendency of blowing head gaskets. And if you do get an 86, get a standard. I've driven the automatics and they're dogs. They have no acceleration at all. Get a standard trans if you want, but realize you're not getting a Toyota. You're getting a Subaru. Travis Newland says, Scotty, I'm 14 and want to become a mechanic when I'm older. Do you have any advice? Yeah, do like I did. I started when I was 14. Go someplace you can work on the weekends, get an apprenticeship where you can learn, work and learn, and you can read all you want. The internet, there's all kinds of information. There's all kinds of online courses you can take on car repair. And if you really want to do it, specialize in car electronics, because electronics are the wave of the future. And if things do eventually, in a long future, turn into electric cars, you'll know how to work them because you'll understand the electricity. When I was young, everything was mechanical, so you could pick it up easy. The electronics, make sure you like electronics. If you don't like electronic work, don't become a mechanic. But if you do, you could probably make a lot of money in the future. Next question. Jordan Norman says, I got no 02 Mazda 626. The transmission overdrive light keeps flashing. What do I do? Okay, when the overdrive light flashes on that car, it's designed to do that when there's a problem in the transmission system. What you have to do is go to a guy like me who has a dealer level computer. We plug it in and then we get a code, and it's a transmission code that shows there's a problem in the transmission system. Then you decide, do you want to fix it or not? Because if it's a super expensive problem, on those things, if they need to be rebuilt, I've seen people spend $4,000 or $5,000 fixing them. Now, get it scanned, get the code, and if you get confused and people don't seem to explain it, at least get the code and then email me, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. But you need the code. That means there's a code. But if it ships okay and runs okay, I mean, you could live with it. A lot of times there are minor codes that mean nothing. Steph says, Mr. Kilmer, how come your sons didn't follow their father's footsteps? Well, see, because they lived here along with my wife, who said, nobody could work with you. And sometimes they looked at it and tried, and they couldn't handle it, the intensity of it. So Both of them are learning things, learning to fix things and doing stuff. So, I mean, my youngest son, he ended up as a chief engineer in the 101st Airborne on Chinook helicopters. So, sort of, he got into the helicopter repair and shit. And so, hey, he sort of did, but hey, my father could barely tie his own shoes, and he just used his head. Well, I used my head and my hands. Most people don't want to follow what their father did. For instance, my father was a phenomenal bridge player. He was one of the best bridge players in the world. When he was in his 80s, he and his partner beat the Canadian national team in a championship. So I never had anything to do with playing bridge. That's what my father did, you know. People generally revolt when they're young, if they have brains. Supersonic says, for hard shifting and slipping, is Lucas Transfix a good idea? Okay, depends what you're trying, which one, and which vehicle you have. Let's say you got an old car, you got a 75 Chevy or something. Yeah, you can take a cord out, put a cord of that old heavy Transfix that Lucas makes. If you have a newer one, you would have to use the newer light version. They have a lighter version now that you could put in because the heavy one doesn't work that good on the modern ones. So you could try that, but you'd have to do a little research about what weight your fluid is and what year and model you have because you can't use the thick stuff on the new stuff. Same thing with the Lucas oil stuff. You can't use the thick stuff on new cars. You have to use the thin ones. It's worth a try. If you got a transmission that's going out, somebody tells you it's going to cost $4,000 to fix it. What the heck? Take one cord out, put one in if you pick the right one, and see what happens. Next question. Grably says, should the oil in manual transmissions be changed or is it not needed? Okay, it's a good idea to change it, but you don't have to do it that often, maybe every 60, 80,000 miles. Standard transmissions use what's called splash lubrication. As you drive down the road, the gears just splash oil all over the place. And it just drips on the gears and it lubricates them. Automatic transmissions have oil pumps that pump it through the system. So it's a completely different system. But I still would change it every 60, 80,000 miles because it's easy to do. Most of them just have a drain plug on the bottom. It drains out. And then they have a side plug. You take that out and you pump new fluid in until it comes out of the hole on the side and then it's full. It's a real easy thing to do. Next question. Rebellion King 101 says, Scotty, I want to buy a reliable, affordable sedan with a decent V6 engine. Any thoughts on the 2008 Pontiac G6? Yes, stay far away from it. That's one of the cars that brought Pontiac to extinction. They were so poorly made. Now, the engine in it is okay. They didn't have any problem with a V6 engine. If you change the oil, they could run a really long time. But the automatic transmissions were garbage, cost a fortune to fix. The electronics were horrible. The AC systems, the compressors blew up all the time. I would definitely not advise anybody to buy one of those unless they're absolutely nuts about it and they got it dirt cheap and it was still running good. They're not dependable cars in the long run. That really is one of the cars, the G6, that helped Pontiac go extinct. Next question. Jason Barnes says, LS250 carbon buildup. How can I fix it? Okay. I just put out a video about carbon cleaning an engine yesterday. Watch it. You see all the ideas that you can do. Now, if it's really bad, what you really want to do is, like I show in the video, take out a spark plug and look inside with a borescope, and you can get cheap enough borescopes. You can get ones that'll hook up to your cell phone or your laptop like I'm using here for $19, and they actually work pretty fine. And if it is carboned up, you can try some carbon cleaners yourself. Just spray in. I have videos on that. But if it's really bad, you want to pay a professional mechanic with the machine, and the best one is the ATS ones that I talk about in the video, that it's computer controlled with various types of chemicals. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour for a pro to do it, and it will actually clean it out quite well. Don't just start spraying water in and trying to blast it out. That can do damage. If it really is carboned up, pros can clean it with a machine. It isn't needed very often, but if it is, you best to have a pro do it. If just using the cleaner like I show in my video that says make your car run better with a little spray cleaner, if that doesn't help it, then pay a professional. It shouldn't really carbon up if you change the oil regularly and use good gas, though. Those are pretty good engines. Next question. Raymond Ang says, Scotty, my Land Cruiser front right and second row doors make noises when I open and close. I tried WD-40 white lithium, but the noises persist. Please advise. Okay. Well, normally lithium grease is the best thing because lithium is made from metal on metal. Now, the problem is a lot of times it won't soak through that well. So just out of curiosity, get some of the new, because it's a new design, WD-40. Spray it all over, open and close, spray it. Let it soak in. The next day, spray it again. It penetrates better. And if you find that that gets rid of the noise, just do that every once in a while. The lithium is best for metal on metal, but the problem is it won't go inside the hinge right. It doesn't soak through that well. With the WD-40, the rain's going to wash it off over time, but it penetrates through better. So try the WD-40, regular WD-40 first and see what happens. And if it does, just spray it every once in a while. It's cheap, but it's not hard to do. It's not like you got to take a bunch of stuff apart to do it. Next question. As a boy says, Scotty, my 2011 automatic Honda Fit hit 100,000 miles trouble-free. What do I need to get another 100,000? Well, keep doing whatever you're doing. Change your own filter a lot. On that thing, it's an automatic transmission. I would change the fluid every 30, 40,000 miles. It just drain and fill. You can do it yourself. It's a simple job. Just use the Honda fluid because they're real particular about their fluid, and don't overheat the engine. I got a customer that's got 350,000 on a Honda Fit, and he's taking care of it. You know, obviously you're not peeling out all the time, driving like a maniac. I've had customers do ruin their Honda Fits, but because they were younger kids and they just drove like lunatics and they burned it out. If you drive conservatively in those, they can last a really long time. Carrillo says, hey, Scotty, what are your thoughts on the Nissan 300ZX? Those were really good sports cars when they first came out. And, of course, they started adding more and more stuff on it. But they're much better than the newer ones. The newer ones have all kinds of problems because that was made after Renault took over. They were still building a solid, reliable sports car with the 300ZXs. That said, they are kind of a sports car. You buy a used one from a kid who's beating the heck out of it, and it might be a rolling pile of junk. If you're thinking about buying one, always have a mechanic like me check the thing out before you buy it, because you don't want to get somebody else's money pit. Next question. Floyd R. Billet says, do you ever use sealant on hydraulic brake fittings? No, you can't. Those things have 1,000-something PSI pressure, and you got to fix them. And you fix them, you got to use metal parts. It's just the way they go. They have an awful lot of pressure on them. Now, if, say, a fitting goes bad, yeah, you can get another fitting and put a fitting on, but let's say you see they're rusting, then you really got to change a whole bunch of them out, because if one part's rusted, odds are the whole thing is rusting out. So that's just something that you want to replace with metal when it goes out. You can't put sealant. Next question. Mustacello Universe says, I have a 1983 Chevrolet Citation. Do you think I can pick up any hot chicks in it? Well, if they're intellectual hot chicks, yes. They would see that you're not into superficiality. You're into, hey, I got a car, it runs, it gets down the road, and it could be kind of retro chic cheek, you know? Maybe hipster girls will go for that because it's old and it's American. Who knows what people are going to get excited about, you know? But let's put it this way. You're not going to get a gold digger. And that's one of the best things in life is do not get a gold digger. When I met my wife, I had maybe $500 in the bank. She had more money than me. She had like $1,200 in the bank. So she was the rich one. Next question. Useless Cucumber says, hey, Scotty, what are your opinions on Firebirds? Okay, back in the day, my best friend had a Pontiac Firebird. He loved it. It had a big V8 engine, and it was a 4-speed standard, which was big back then, because 3 speeds were normal. This was a 4-speed standard. And he raced all over and had a 4-barrel carburetor. It was a gas hog. You could just watch that gas gauge go down when you floored it, and those barrels opened and tore down the road. But he drove the heck out of it, and later he unfortunately died of melanoma, and he gave the car to his brother, and his brother drove the thing around for years. They were fine cars back then. Then, of course, they started making cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And the later ones from the 80s, 90s, a lot of them were just plain garbage. They didn't hold up worth beans, but the old ones were solid classics in their day. Well, that's it for today. Remember, every day of the week, I upload 2 videos on the Scotty Kilmer channel. So subscribe. You'll never miss another one. And hit the bell so that you get notified. Otherwise, you won't be notified when I put them up. And I am here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube Live, answering your questions. And Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, answering you live on YouTube Live. So I'll catch you then.